Akash Inti, the real reflection of you. Today's one of those days where I reset my sleep schedule, and by that I mean for the past quite some time now, I've had like a flipped sleep schedule is like what I like to call it, where I've been pretty much waking up in late evenings or so, staying up all throughout the night and into the late mornings, and then just sleeping throughout the day, kind of the early to late morning all the way through to early to late afternoon, and then redoing it all over again. And I decided that I wanted to change that. I wanted to wake up early. I wanted to wake up with the sun. So my decision, and I started implementing it today. A couple things came of it thus far. Implemented a couple of my disciplines and routines that I've had on my schedule and that I've done, but I'd been doing in the nights. Like I treated the evenings as the mornings and the mornings as the evenings, and just flipped everything. And everything from reading a couple books to meditating to cold shower to studying to writing, lots of journaling, all these things that I've been doing, meditating. Noticing more and more that one of the things that one of my mentors, Vince Kelvin, says is treat it all as training, and noticing more and more how every single day is an opportunity to train myself to act as if I was in an emergency situation, to act as if I'm in a state of emergency, and to make sure that I do the best that I possibly can to not only ensure that I survive, but to ensure that I thrive. Noticing that by waking up in the morning, which I've known, I had no real reason to wake up early in the morning versus the evening. I tended to like the quietness of the day, and thus far it's been really quiet all throughout the morning. So, and yet at the same time, see, this is me being kind of uncomfortable right now. Perhaps there's something that I'm discovering about myself that might be uncomfortable or discomforting. I don't know. And I almost lost my train of thought, I hear in the background my mom's on like a call with her school and her students, and I hear one of the kids, like, I don't know, just saying something, like it sounds like just babbling. So it's a bit distracting. And yet at the same time, come back to myself and come back to what is it that I'm doing in my life and how am I changing my life. And like I mentioned, I've noticed that this morning, throughout the early part of the morning, it was like bam, 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 wake up, pray, read book, write in journal, write in another journal. And then I started getting to some reading, cold shower. After the cold shower, I think I might have made my bed then. And then I got to yoga, interacted with my little brother for a little bit, grabbed a little bit of food to eat, martial arts practice. So there's all these like different things. I noticed in the beginning part of the day specifically, it was like bam, 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 bam. And then as the day wore on a bit, it started to slow down. It was like bam, bam, bam. And that desire almost to hit the next task, or that desire to continue to be in sync. And I don't even know if it's desire. I wouldn't say it's a desire. It's almost just like, again, these are observations about myself. It's almost like this sense of knowing, okay, this is what's next, or this is what's next, kind of faded and eluded me a touch, in the sense of the knowingness of this is what I'm going to do next, or this is what I'm going to do next, kind of was like, it's up in the air, There wasn't as much certainty around that, and it's fine, it's cool, I don't need to be certain about every single little thing that I'm going to do. And in fact, I kind of like not knowing exactly what little things I'm going to do. I was reading another book earlier today by Esther Perel, Mating in Captivity, and she talks about this whole idea of how eroticism is kind of an oscillation between security and adventure, right? There's this whole idea that people always want in love and intimacy, etc., and sex, there's like this need for security, right? Like you're not going to have sex with someone that you just completely know nothing about in some senses, or you're not going to have a relationship with someone that you don't know nothing about, right? And even that kind of doesn't make sense, right? Because even the people that we don't have a relationship, we have a relationship with. It's just that the fact is that our relationship with them is that we don't have a relationship with them. But what I'm seeking to say here, or what I'm really getting at, is that there's this trade-off between security and adventure, specifically in our love lives. But this transcends into all aspects of our life. This need for security and this need for this longing for newness, novelty. And so on the opposite end of the spectrum is this novelty, right? We often find ourselves most attracted to, especially those first few days of a relationship, those first few hours, those first few minutes, of almost like not knowing anything about this individual, not knowing anything about them, right? It could be everything from the way that what's their morning like to I wonder what they're thinking about now to blah 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 blah. Over time, as you get to know an individual, that novelty starts to fade, and inevitably people end up trading that for that sense of novelty for security. But then once you get all the security, you're like, oh man, I know everything about this person. I kind of want that novelty again, and so it's like this unending trade-off. Well, that happens in our daily schedules. That happens in all aspects of our life. And I just gave an example with my life earlier as it relates to, as I was looking at my day and I was thinking through, what are the things in my day that, like, in the beginning, it was like lots of security in the sense of I know what I'm going to do. 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 And then as the day wore on, it was like, I'm not as sure as what I want to do. I'm not as sure as what I want. I'm not as certain as what I'm going to do next. So all these things, right? And I'm simply sharing this because, again, these are observations about myself, things that I've noticed about myself, and things that I've pulled from some of the readings that I've been reading as well. I was reading a little bit of Rollo Tomasi's The Rational Male, which I think is a great juxtaposition for Esther Perel's Mating in Captivity. While they come at similar ideas and topics for sure, they almost approach it from different perspectives. One's the masculine, one's the feminine, and yet talking about the same topic, it's really, really cool to see the two of them reading the two of them together. So that's all I got for today. Keep up, thrive, stay sexy.